Hello and welcome to the Father's Heart. I am Ruth Daniels. Thank you for joining us today. Today we are tackling a sensitive but crucial topic, dealing with household enemies. You know, those people who share your space but not your peace. Joining me is Pastor Micheal Andrew, a renowned therapist, counselor and pastor. With expertise on conflict resolution and family dynamics, together we will explore scriptural guidance and practical strategies for dealing with household enemies. Pastor Micheal, good to have you on the show.
Thank you for hosting me.
Without much ado, can you share your personal experience with household enemy?
My childhood was shrouded in fear and anxiety, courtesy of my mother. Unknown to me, my mother dabbled into darkness, using diabolic power to control me and those around her.
Wow. When you found out that your mom was your enemy, how did it make you feel?
To be honest, I couldn't believe it. I mean, why will a mother hate the child she gave birth to? Her sharp tongue and critical spirit made our home a battleground. She would often belittle my accomplishments, question my decisions and make me feel worthless.
In other words, she cast spell on you to make you feel worthless, use mind control to dictate your actions and conjure fear and anxiety to keep you submissive. You had a difficult childhood indeed. What was your father's take on the issue?
My father had the worst marriage on earth. My mother frustrated him until his demise. He died of heart attack. We thought he died of a natural cause. It was by revelation that I discovered that my mother killed my father.
When you found out she killed your dad, what was your reaction?
I hated my mom for that. I was looking for a way to fight her my own way instead of fighting God's way.
How do you define household enemies in a biblical sense?
Alright, I use the term to refer to people close or closest to you, who use the advantage of their relationship with you to fight you despite their relationship with you.
Interesting, tell us more.
Such people can work alone and fight someone for a reason or some reason, often selfish. They can fight against someone spiritually, physically, or both. They can also recruit others close to one or outsiders to join them in their fight to achieve a common goal or obtain some benefits. Many people have been victims of household enemies. The cause of their problem is not from strangers. If outsiders are involved, they must have internal collaborators. In crime investigations, it is a common finding that an insider gave information to the criminals, or one of them is an insider who betrayed the victims. Quoting Micah 7:6, Jesus told his disciples, "A man's enemies will be those of his own household." Matthew 10:36, New King James Version. The New Living Translation renders it thus: "Your enemies will be right in your own household." The Good News Translation says, "Your worst enemies will be the members of your own family." Jesus was talking to his 12 apostles about what they would experience as he sent them out to preach the gospel.
Do we have examples of household enemy challenge in the Bible?
Of course we do, Ruth. For example, Joseph. Joseph knew the meaning of household enemies. Outsiders didn't try to kill him or sell him. His brothers were the perpetrators of the evil against him, Genesis 37:13-28. His brothers were the perpetrators of the evil against him, Genesis 37:13-28. The archers bitterly grieved him, shot at him, and hated him, Genesis 49:23. It was God who saved Joseph and ensured that his dreams came to pass.
So much to learn from the lifestyle of Joseph.
Jesus told his disciples, "Even those closest to you, your parents, brothers, relatives, and friends, will betray you." In Jeremiah 12:6, the Lord had told Jeremiah, "Even your brothers, members of your own family, have turned against you. They plot and raise complaints against you. Do not trust them, no matter how pleasantly they speak." So you see that there are several warnings concerning household enemies in the Bible.
What biblical principles guide your approach to dealing with household enemy?
Alright, the first thing that I did was to discover the truth. My mother was not an ordinary human being. And if I must approach, it must be by God's approach. So I found solace in a local church and began reading my Bible. The more I read my Bible, the more I discovered that my mother's powers was no match for God's authority. I read scriptures like, "Greater is he who is in me than he who is in the world." 1 John 4:4, "Submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee." James 4:7, I prayed for protection and guidance, resisted her spell with scriptures, and most importantly forgave her and broke curses through prayers.
Why did you forgive your mother, knowing all that she did to you and to your dad?
If we must fight our enemies, we should fight them with God's weapon. God's weapon for us is love and forgiveness. You can't be hating and holding grudges and expect God to answer your prayer or your call for his intervention. Jesus stated it clearly in the Holy Bible that we should love our enemies, pray for them, do good to them and have a positive thoughts towards them. When we do all of this, we are heaping a coal of fire upon them, and the hand of God will not be too short to deliver us from their oppression.
Interesting. So tell us what happened to your mother when you applied these principles.
Her spell lost its potency, her control began to break, and my relationship with God became stronger. After all of this happened, I went to her pleading with her to surrender her life to Jesus Christ, to turn away from darkness. She did not take heed to my warnings and plea. She was still making effort to make life miserable for me. I kept loving her, praying for her and hoping that she will repent. She never repented. One day she slept and never woke up.
So how did you feel when she died? Were you excited that God had given you victory?
Well, it was a mixed feeling for me, because I know that my mother never gave her life to Christ. She continued in her evil ways and she's in hell. The thought of her in hell breaks my heart. I wish she had given Jesus a chance in her life.
Jesus came into the world and died in order to save man from sin. When people reject God here on earth, God will in turn reject them in eternity. Your testimony is an inspiring one. Please, can you give a word of encouragement to the viewer who is currently dealing with household enemy challenge?
Alright, dear brother and sister, I want you to know and understand that God's power surpasses any darkness. Secondly, forgiveness breaks spiritual strongholds and love conquers even the toughest battle. The victory will be yours if you apply God's strategy in your spiritual warfare.
We've had an interesting conversation with you. Thank you for speaking with us today on The Father's Heart.
Thank you, Ruth, for hosting me.
If you suspect any spiritual manipulation, seek help from your prayer partners, spiritual leader, Christian counselor and support group. Remember, dealing with household enemies requires faith, wisdom and support. Don't face this challenge alone. Well, this is how far we can go on today's edition of the program. Do join us again for another exciting edition of the program. I am Ruth Daniels. Bye for today.